Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township public meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. In concert with current COVID-19 requirements, face coverings are required for all non-vaccinated participants in the public meeting room unless they fit into one of the allowable exceptions. When speaking, while maintaining social distance, participants may remove their face covering. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the township's YouTube channel. The township is expecting to utilize this vehicle for all future public meetings during and after the COVID-19 crisis. Please continue to check the township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the township's website and will be posted on the front of the township building. The township will also be recording the meeting and making it available for viewing via the township website and YouTube channel. While every effort will be made to ensure the live streaming and website are working, East Lampeter Township takes no responsibility for and cannot be held liable for the unavailability of live streaming in part or in full due to technical issues beyond its control. Live streams and recordings of all meetings remain the property of East Lampeter Township and are protected by copyright. Access to live streams and recordings of meetings is provided for personal and non-commercial use. Video, images, and audio must not be altered, reproduced, or republished without permission of East Lampeter Township. It is suggested that all participants on Zoom mute their microphone during the meeting until they wish to speak, make a motion, or vote. All votes will be taken by roll call so that they can be properly recorded. In order to accommodate public comments at this meeting, the township will be accepting public comments in writing or via email. Instructions for the submission of public comments are available on the township website. All those providing public comments will be required to provide their name and address in order for their comments to be read into the record. Inappropriate comments will not be read into the record. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
My name is Jim Everhart. We have members Frank Hollingsworth and Diane Tyson, and we have two members who are not in attendance today, Joel Bear and Chris Kretchen, who could not make the meeting today. I'll do a quick, has everyone read the minutes of the meeting?
Yes,
Do I have a motion to approve?
I approve. Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public concerns or comments. So we'd like to recognize our very patient visitor. Can you hear us?
No comments.
Okay. All right. Well, you're certainly welcome to comment at any time. So if you want to join us, and we have nobody here from the Conestoga Valley Youth Soccer Organization. So we were wondering if they were coming or not. So reports, recreation, we had the note from Chris in his note that he was going to be in absentia. He said, what was it, the girls, I'm trying to remember his.
Girls
softball.
softball is using Community Park on Sunday mornings.
Yes.
Yep. And baseball's running smoothly at this time.
Okay. That sounds good. All right. Grounds, buildings, and trails.
All right. You do have a copy of the handouts. We did pick up the flowers from multiple greenhouses. And thank you. You signed the thank you cards. We'll get them in the mail. Troy and staff were in process of planning today. And they're going to try to wrap it up tomorrow, if not tomorrow, Friday. That way they're in for the Memorial Day weekend. That's pretty much for the flowers. The park rentals. Also have you a handout from January 1st, 2020 to today's date. You can see we had a total income of $4,535 in 2020. And then you have January 21 to today's date in 21 and a difference of $10,420 income. The girls told me they're getting rentals in at least if not two a day.
Wow.
There's people picking multiple dates because a lot aren't available. It is broken down into the resident fee and non-resident fee. So they're pretty much even, but the non-resident fee is higher. So we got more residents making the reservations.
Quick question. Do you know if they keep track of like people that say you have a date open and they say no, and then they give them like dates around that date or whatever, and then people that just get turn away completely. I mean, like I'm looking at again for beyond 2022, if we need another, we need some data, if we need another pavilion somewhere, it would be nice to have data to go, even if we would go back, we got help from the Clark Foundation for one, we got help from, different organizations, Rotary, but it would be helpful to have data if we would need, one of the lists on there is a potential one at Lafayette, but to know, we could say in 2022, we had to turn around X amount of people who requested dates, but we couldn't fulfill them. And if there's a way to track that or somehow.
I can check, but I know when they said those dates are full, the resident or non-resident would call back with a different date,
Okay.
with a couple different dates
Yeah.
to move things into.
So I mean, I'm just wondering if there's a way to track how many people we have to turn away totally because we can't fit anything. And just looking to try to get some data if we could. For grant, you always have, if you want to write grants to anybody, you need data. So that's why.
But it could be kind of tough for that though, because they
Yeah,
say,
it is a tough one, but.
so I'll get back to you, and they don't know if it's a person getting back to them, if they called
Is the same
before.
person or
Is it-
something different. Yeah, it could be tricky, but I'm just thinking ahead to.
Yeah, I get your point. I don't know how we collect that kind of data. Yeah.
I mean, I think the only thing would be if we just said, well, and the data would have to reflect this. This is the number of people that we simply turned away. And then, we don't know whether they came back with another date or not. And it wouldn't be as conclusive as,
Yeah.
but it'd be a number. And if the point is, if the number is for this year is 10 and for next year is 100, then you say, well, okay, so people aren't getting the dates they want, maybe they're coming back, maybe they're not, but we know that there's increased demand. I don't know,
Would it be just as valuable to simply look at what's to just say, okay, the capacity, if we looked at Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays alone, and every pavilion was rented every one of those days, so there's no available capacity on those dates with the current pavilions, which to me would be an indication that everything's full. So if you had another one, there's probably people out there to fill that one as well.
that makes sense. Yeah,
so-
I think that would probably be just as good. Yeah.
Somebody called today to see if we had a pavilion for Memorial Day weekend. But usually in March, we start getting filled up for July 4th weekend.
Yeah.
And then like 2 months later, somebody will say July 4th and it's all booked. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I imagine you're even probably having a lot of people looking
Could I
around.
ask a question,
Excuse me?
guys? Could I ask a question?
Sure.
If somebody calls with a specific park on a specific date that's filled, are they offered a different location?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, if community park's full, we offer, let them know that the Clark Pavilion at Flory Park's available, if it is available. They
great.
keep track of everything on the computer calendar.
Yeah, you don't want to turn away money.
No,
Right.
no,
I could see if I could pull information for the next meeting to see if, look out the whole way out through Labor Day to see if everything's book solid.
Yeah.
yeah, because I imagine, I mean, you probably have at least some bookings on Labor
And
Day.
even to just keep track of calls, how many people, sorry, we're all booked up, just keep, we've had, we might only be able to have 50 rentals in a season, but we might get 150 phone calls.
Right.
So even just to keep track of calls, sorry, the date's booked, even if the date's booked, just to say somebody called to, inquire about it. We keep track of that.
And to your point, data's better than, having some data is better than no data. Right, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, we have, I know there's bookings out through October.
as I said, my guess is, I'll be interested to see how soon you'll get booked up for Labor Day. I mean, you probably, I guess.
They might already have it. I don't know. I don't see the calendar. I didn't see it,
Yeah,
but I can have a report for next month's meeting.
okay, that's great, thank you. All right, anything else, Charlie?
Yeah, just a reminder, we do have the Conestoga Cleanup coming up June 12th from 9 to 11. Our site is full. We have 25 volunteers. I picked up gloves, trash bags, case of water, which was supplied by the Conestoga Cleanup crew. And we will be doing Mill Creek from Strasburg Pike south, like in behind the falls at Old Mill. But we're booked. Representative Griner's office called today. They're going to have himself and one of his secretaries involved also at our site for publicity. It's getting out there. And I think out of the 7 sites, there's only 1 site available that has room for a couple volunteers. And last reminder I had for everybody, remember the spotted lanternfly is coming back.
Sorry, what'd you
The
say?
spotted lanternfly is
I've
coming
killed a
back.
ton of them already in my
There's,
backyard.
yeah, I'm seeing they're in their baby
Black and white
state. Yeah, they're black with white spots on them. If you see them, kill them. I guess is the way you should say it. Stomp on them, fly swat or whatever. Yeah, but they are on the move again.
Yeah.
And that's the last I had.
All right, and so no other gunsmithing channels. Old business. Hutch, can you give us any updates on the regional recreation program?
I have been in communication with our contact at DCNR. All of the documents have been completed and submitted and accepted and approved. He's in the process now of identifying potential peers, recreation professionals who would be assigned to the region for this purpose. And he's supposed to be getting either one name that would be assigned to us or multiple names that we can choose from soon. So that I tried to nail him down on how soon, and all he would say is, well, it'll be soon. so it wasn't terribly helpful, but I do expect that process to keep moving. Yeah, looking forward to that. I was at a meeting of managers earlier today, actually, and Mike Morris, the manager in Upper Laycock, expressed his interest and desire to get it going, and his feeling that we need some sort of regional recreation entity. And the manager from West Earl was also there, and we tried to twist her arm a little bit in the process. And she said, I'd do it in a minute, but my board doesn't want to do it. So I also learned that Upper Laycock has resurfaced their tennis courts. And in the process, they marked them for pickleball. So they've already implemented that recommendation from the regional plan. So they're working on things as well.
Our former board member is heartened by that, but still disappointed that we don't have something here closer for him.
Well, he's just got to look at the CV community as his community.
Yeah, got to look at it a little more broadly, right?
Right.
Yeah, got it. No, I agree with you. Anything else?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. That's great. That's great. Well, we're moving. That's totally awesome. Okay, so next is the continuing discussion of the capital improvements that we're going to recommend. And I know we had some votes from our two absent members. Anybody have any thoughts they want to start off with? And it's my fault, I was pushing this. It occurred to me that with the amount of, that with Gibbons Park and our desire to have that my suggestion that be included was probably a bad idea, in the sense that what I'm thinking is that I would suggest that we owe the board at least some recommendations. That what I would suggest is that maybe we put together some recommendations about, it just seems like such an anomaly. It seems like it's, you know, what we're talking about is projects that you can accommodate within your budget, and whereas the whole development of the park should be considered as a multi-year project, that we would want to maybe at least help the board by providing some suggestions or guidance about how that might happen and what we might do. And that just seems like a separate thing that maybe we should consider as a project that we undertake, and it might take 2 or 3 months or longer to put some recommendations together. But that if we did a little bit of research and perhaps, you know, identified, because I was thinking about the fact that we had a lot of questions that came up the last time. It's like, well, do you do this first? Do you do this first? I'd like to be able to think that we could do a little research and know what the best process would be to kind of suggest to the board. That's just my thought.
Well, we need to zero in on 2022 so they can do their budget. That's,
Yeah, but what I'm saying
but
is,
beyond that, I think we can,
what I'm saying is,
you
I
know,
don't think we're ready
this
to do- I don't know
open
whether-
face, you know, this peer might influence some of our decision making. So I could be flexible on that, but I think we still need to kind of be thinking about what they could be. So,
What I'm not suggesting that we ignore it. I'm suggesting that we owe the board not just something that says, hey, do something about the Gibbons Park. It should be, hey, we've researched it and we think the best process to follow is this, that you do this first, then this first, then this first. And the board figures out how it wants to handle funding for that. You know, it's a funding issue for them. That how do you launch it? And do they put some stuff in the 2022 budget? Sure, that's fine. But that's just my thought.
Should we decide what we want first?
Right.
Second, third, and fourth, and then do what you're saying.
exactly.
Is that what you're saying? Or is that what
I
you're saying?
don't. What I'm saying is, we don't know the process of how to tackle Gibbons Park. I'm talking about just Gibbons Park.
Okay, yeah.
We don't know how. what do we do first?
Why don't we decide what we wanted, which of those?
But
for
yeah, the Gibbons Park might
2022?
not be what the board wants to do first. We might want, maybe we want trails
Well, I'm
at
saying
the other
is, why
parks
don't
that are
we
already
take-
developed.
No,
and-
no, no. What I'm saying is take Gibbons Park out of this process right now. And just not include it.
Why would we do that? It's
Yeah,
one of
but-
our
Because
parks.
we don't know what we're recommending to start with.
Keep in mind,
What are,
we did discuss last month, get an engineer involved to come up with the design. I mean, that's a 1-year process right there. So that could be the first step.
yeah.
The
but
engineer- the
I guess what
engineering-
I'm saying is that, should that be part of this process or should it just be a separate thing?
Well, no, it's one of our choices of our priorities for next year. I mean, so that would
Yeah.
be, if the board agrees that should be one of our priorities, then that's what they'll figure out how to make happen.
But we have to decide what we want first, second.
And third, first,
And once we
and
do
that
that,
happens to be on the
That's what we
2022
want, and
plan.
then we tell them, or do the research how to get where we want to go. would
But
think,
I
right?
mean, if you guys want to include it in the record and, want to discuss it, that's fine. But I guess what I'm saying is, I just was thinking that that's just such a wholly different thing than all these recommendations.
No, it's still gonna be, doesn't matter if their park budget's gonna be their park budget. We just have to direct them of how we would encourage them to spend it.
Just
I
in
would-
speaking about Gibbons Park alone and how to proceed with doing something at Gibbons Park, not saying that that's going to be what you decide, but in order to do that, Charlie's right. The first step in that process is going to be engineering.
Right.
There's no other first step for that project.
That's good. That's great. But what I'm suggesting is then the problem I'm saying is that if it's the order of magnitude that you were suggesting, that it's $100,000 or a couple $100,000, that dwarfs it. That's probably more than everything else that's on there.
It could be, but if that's what the park board says is a priority or should be, or you're recommending that be a priority, then we want to take that forward to the Board of Supervisors. And if they say, well, we can't manage that, we can manage the other recommendations as priorities, but we can't manage that, then we'll come back and report that to you. And we'll say, well, they said we've got enough to do A, C, and F, but we can't do B, D, and E. And that's sort of how the recommendation decision-making process would evolve, I think.
And we don't know that engineering cost. We'd have to go out and get proposals, tell the engineers what we're looking at, and then they'll come back with proposals saying, X says this amount, Y says this amount, and then that's the recommendation, come back with a proposal just to do a design. And then that design may sit for 2 years before you can actually do anything construction down there. But
Yeah, the advantage we have is that, we have the conceptual plan that's been done as part of the regional plan. And so we can hand that to engineering firms and say, this is what the concept plan is. Now we would want to actually engineer the construction of this, give us a proposal. And that's fairly easy for them to do.
Or tackle 2022 and prioritize that, so get the recommendations for that, and then work on beyond 2022.
We can do that, again, when the full board's here, we can do beyond 2022.
When
And again,
everybody's
I would
here.
like to stay flexible with that based on this peer grant that's coming up, which hopefully starts by July. We'll keep our fingers crossed, and then we can kind of work beyond that. Do you have the emails from, I know Joel had playground.
Joel's list was shade trees as discussed, engineering at Gibbons,
And one was on the
and
other
then
list.
replace playground equipment at Flory,
Okay, so
1 to 3 years.
three, the top three. They would be my top three also.
What was it?
The shade trees at the playgrounds at Lafayette and Flory, to redo the playground at Flory, and engineering for Gibbons was Joel's, and they would be my three.
That's, you know, what's funny is I was looking at that, that's what I had written down too.
In any specific order? Or just write them down and then the board can decide, yeah, we can do 1 and 2, but 3's
Yeah.
gonna have to wait.
Well, you know, once again, boy,
Well, couldn't engineering for Gibbons be part of 2022? Because we're gonna have to suggest that for the 2022, if we go with the trail extension at Flory, engineering for Gibbons and parking at Gibbons. That's what we're doing engineering for the parking at Gibbons. So,
You'll get the engineering done in a year. You won't get the engineering and construction done.
yeah, I realize that. I'm just saying,
Right.
to move, we could maybe move engineering for Gibbons over to work with our recommendation when we make for 2022 to say the engineering starts
the
where-
one
on
thing,
this other column.
the
They
one
would
thing
be
about the order that you just said, Diane, is that, because remember, we talked about the fact that I think the last meeting, we talked about the fact that we wanted some quick wins too. And the point is those first two, well, certainly the shade trees can be a quick win. Playground equipment, relatively quick win.
Playground equipment though is 25,000 at least,
No,
if
no.
not more. I mean,
No.
that's a big ticket item.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it doesn't have to be 6 months to do it. It could be done, ordered, and hopefully in place before, 3-4 months, maybe, perhaps. But what I'm saying is, and it's a tangible thing, and people would say, wow, I see some progress. I see some, whereas the engineering study is, let's face it, the average park goer is not going to see it for that.
But still, you
And
got to
that's-
start somewhere.
No.
Yeah, and I don't mean to nitpick on verbiage, but it would be more than a study. The study's already been done. So now we're talking about design.
Right. Okay, that's fine.
So I guess what I'm saying is the shade trees, fine, the playground authority. But for engineering for Gibbons, we can include that with the beyond 2022, and then we can move my porta potties up to third place. Because I'd like to see that. The first two get my vote, and then I'd like to see porta potties, and then engineering for Gibbons to be moved over. For all the, not just for East Lamp or the township one, but for all the parks that have a porta potty year round, if they don't have a porta potty there.
I agree with Chris though in his email. He said, he was against it in that there are facilities that are available really close by all of our parks. If someone needs to go to the bathroom, that there are public restrooms
Yeah,
available.
but then you have to go to
Very
Target or
close.
go to.
And I just think again,
I'm there. I want to go. I have to go in the middle of winter.
I'll tell you, just get
Yeah.
a pricing on how much one porta potty
Oh, that's-
for,
and you gotta look that
for
up.
year
I
round,
think
how
that's
much would
fine.
something
Did you
like that be,
decide-
Charlie?
Did you find out they have do porta potties in wintertime?
Not for the winter, I didn't check, but our monthly rate is, I don't want to misquote, but it's probably around $130 a month
Times
for
3.
one.
To
5
me, I
months.
think that, the yearly cost for that,
Yeah, it'd be the 5 months of winter times 3 times 130.
so I think we have our money, we have other priorities for that money. It's not a priority for me to do that. How many trees could that buy?
Or how many people could be happy having a place to go
Well, again, you.
and using the park? It's not that, just using the park. Then in wintertime, maybe people don't use the park because of that.
Bathrooms are locked at Long's Park from the same amount that ours are. They don't have porta potties all over Long's
But
Park.
Downingtown does.
In the wintertime, they don't.
Struble Park Trail does, because I walk there in the wintertime.
Mm.
With, you know, I hear what you're saying, Frank. You're the only person that I've ever heard this complaint from.
Only because I use the park a lot in the winter, and I know the issues that can arise. And it's not just me, some other people that.
We'll tell them to contact us
All right.
so that we have a, you know, an outpouring of requests that we could consider it.
Right.
The only thing, if I may, the only thing I would suggest is that the Arboretum research is something that was recommended in the plan. And I guess what I'm saying is you don't necessarily need to feel like you're limited to only 3 things. If you feel like 4 is the better, you want to recommend 4, recommend 4. If you want to recommend 5, recommend 5. You know, it's, you know, however you're feeling.
I have my heart set on our Eagle Scout doing that, but.
That would be great. I mean,
Right,
I think.
again, and there's the list, we should make a list of things for suggested Eagle Scout projects. You know, Arboretum research, the Bird Now Sanctuary would also fit on there, I think.
Yeah, I'm liking those kinds of things because they're different and really unusual. All right. So I mean, I think that's great. I would. You know, I said, thanks for saying that, Hutch. I mean, that was one of my big things all along. And I thought, because once again, I think that's something that at least the research might be fairly inexpensive. I don't know. I don't know what it would take, but you know, if we had an Eagle Scout do it, the cost on that could be relatively minor.
Right.
But it would be a benefit. So, and is it soon enough?
Could I say something, guys? I keep losing sound. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Is your mic on? Can you hear me?
No, that's better. Yeah, now I can hear.
Jim, is your mic turned on?
It was.
Okay. Quite honestly, I think what you should do is not limit it to 3 or 4 items, but make a list of everything you would like to do over the next 3 or 4 years, but prioritize it with at least your top 3 items at the top that you think you would like to do first, but you shouldn't limit it so the board knows everything that you're thinking that you would like to do over the long run, so they can, you know, maybe allocate more money knowing what you want to do. No, I can't hear.
Prioritize the list and turn it all in.
I lost somebody.
My batteries are dead.
I think Jim's batteries are dead.
There you go. Now I can hear. Whoever that.
This is Charlie talking.
Okay.
They have to change Jim's batteries. I think they went dead.
Yeah. I have it on and when I turned it on, it would flicker. And actually, that flickered a little bit too. I wonder if that did.
While you're doing that, could I ask couple more questions?
Sure.
It sounds like you have a budget, but if you say to the board, you don't have a choice of what you want to do, the board has to make that decision. Like if you want to plant trees, you have to go to the board to get their approval. Is that true?
Now, normally what we do is we'll budget money for trees, we'll budget money for playground mulch, we'll budget money for different items in the park. These are be for projects. The park board gives me items to budget for the following year, which I throw in that we can do. But the big ticket items, the board has to approve those.
Okay, I got it.
So, yeah, we've always interpreted it as just, this is us making a recommendation to Charlie and ultimately to the board, but that's what it is, a recommendation, that's it.
One more question before you go on. You keep talking about engineering work. Is that being done by an East Lampeter employee, or is that an outside firm?
It would be an outside firm. We don't have engineering staff.
Okay.
And what we're specifically referring to is the new Gibbons Park that the township bought, what it was, a couple of years ago. And the idea is that any development, we feel as if any development that has to occur, that would occur there, would need to have we need to have the engineering work done, design done, before we can turn it into any, even a small project, or, because it would be kind of.
Where is this park at?
I'm sorry.
He asked where Gibbons Park is.
Where Gibbons Park is. It's right in Burtonhead at the old
Nolt's Mill.
fireworks place. Yeah.
It's at
The
Nolt's
old
Mill.
fireworks place, at the old mill, yeah.
Notes Mill, right along Old Philadelphia Pike.
Okay.
It's the property. It used to be the flea market in behind there.
And that's still in East Lampeter?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah, just past Mill Creek Road.
Okay.
You want me to make a prioritize on this?
The only thing I was going to say is, since we're missing two members, we want to, is it soon enough if we would make final recommendations next time, or do we need to make it this time?
Well, I
it's
think
the
for
shade trees, it's the
2022,
playground, it's
pretty in
engineering
agreement.
for Gibbons at first three, and then the other three. Chris wants the porta potties end, we'll just move it to the end and turn the whole thing in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and let them worry about it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just
Okay.
put everything on the list, but that,
Anything else?
the first three were the
Yeah,
biggest,
big choices, and then,
in agreement that would be
yeah,
the
the first three, everybody
priorities.
wants the first three, 1, 2, 3, and jump down 5, 6, or 2, 3, 4, 5, and up to porta potties number 6.
All right, you want to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to that.
Okay, second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're resolved then. Okay, good.
Yeah,
All right.
So then, do you want to wait till next week or next time for Beyond two?
Yeah, I
Or
think
do you want to
beyond-
just talk about it now?
We got time on that, let's face
Yeah,
it.
and also, I think, again, the peer review is going to, there may be more recreational oriented things that the peer study may bring to the forefront that we're not thinking of right now, that may be revenue generating. That's the kind of thing, I'm kind of upset that, not upset, but I'm sad that soccer didn't come, because I was wondering if they were looking at multi-purpose fields,
Addressing
to
that
request.
issue.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the kind of thing where I think we need to be a little flexible. And again, if we get the engineering study in, it sounds like the canoe launch and the landings and the parking and everything might not be as crazy as we think it is. That might move up the list, or it might move down the list because it is too out of the ballpark, or we might have to look for grant money. Again, we don't even think about the new trail yet. So I think we should stay flexible, but at least have ideas and keep them in front of us, because we really didn't have that previous
So
to now.
So Diane, you're saying you want to add more to the list, maybe some next meeting, or?
Yeah, I think we should keep
Keep it
adding
flexible.
to it, or,
And then
keep
prioritizing it without
those.
eliminating anything like we did to this list, just
Right.
add more and just go down the list
Yeah,
and turn
move
it
them
in.
around beyond the
See if that works.
2022.
Well, let's face it, part of it is if they're in beyond 2022, we're not really seeking action on them immediately, so that we could, to be honest with you, if you think about it this way, that might be the best use of our time over the next even 6 months or so, to be constantly looking at and listening to the peer study and kind of tuning into that and saying, what needs are they identifying? What needs are they, would they think we could fill? And then when it's appropriate, be ready to pull the trigger on, oh yeah, here's our recommendations for whenever, or there's money available. Wow, we're ready to jump on it. I don't know. That's
Or-
okay.
Doing what you said, like this for trail extension, then having A, B, and C. A, make a study. B, get the engineers in. C, in other words, for each of the major things, and have subtopics that goes with you how to get where we want to go,
Yeah,
which may impress the
yeah, no,
commissioners.
I think that's, yeah, that's exact. And, then they will all, especially something that's a little more long-term. All was saying, even with the Givens project, was anything that's long-term, I'd rather not just like throw it to the Board of Supervisors and just say, okay, so here it is. Do something about Givens Park. If we can give them any insight into, if we can do any work on our part and say, here's the way to do that.
Yeah.
We'd suggest you do this first.
And that could be worked in, that we could work on next month with
Yeah.
everybody here. Add to the list and then add subtopics.
Yeah. And once again, I think those could be, we could keep the discussion of capital improvements for, that could be a standing board item that we discuss every month if you want. And I think that's, once again, I can't think of a better use of our time.
Right.
All right, anything else? To move on that. Anybody, any other thoughts on that? I mean, we comfortable with that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we need to. I think we just,
Yeah,
say that that's what we're going to do. I'll just keep putting it on the agenda, and we'll kick it around every month and say, boy, is there anything new? Is there anything that we need to know? Anything we need to do? And with Hutch being our liaison to the CD Regional Recreation Program, we'll just keep, if there's any needs that are identified, we certainly could hope that you would,
Well,
bring them to our attention.
Yeah, I do expect once we have a peer assigned, there'll have to be a steering committee, and I would think that one or more members of the park board would participate in that steering committee. So we'll need that help to get through that effort. So
That'd be great. And
Yeah.
then, so whoever, any members of the park board who are on that could serve as our liaison to be able to bring up things that come to the attention of the peer study group. That would be great. So yeah, so I suspect that both those items, and I guess they both appear under old business, but they'll both continue to be there for the foreseeable, and that way I don't have to change the agenda. So
That's
I
right.
mean, I'm
Yeah, it's good.
terribly lazy in that regard. So if there's anything I can do to not have to change anything, I'll keep it that way. So, okay, good. All right. Any other old business? Any new business?
The other thing is, if anybody watched WGAL news lately, but tonight, last night, they're doing special areas, like in Harrisburg, they did a park in Harrisburg that donated money that they got donated to their park system. And they're looking for things in the area that they could put a little thing on TV at WGAL. And I thought all our park system, maybe one of the prettier parks, and have them come in and make a 5-minute little thing that they put on the air if you want to have a little advertisement for.
I haven't seen it, so I
If
don't
you get a
know.
chance, just watch WGA.
I saw they did disc golf at Buchanan Park. I saw that a couple nights ago.
Yeah, and then they did, there's somebody in Harrisburg, somebody donated some parkland with some big trees, and then they did a thing there. That's just sort of as far as a little commercial, if we get them to come in about our park system, pick one of the parks. Maybe have maybe one of your secretaries just contact WGL, and it's not Brian Roach. It's what's the other guy who does a lot of that stuff.
Matt Barcaro.
It might be Matt Barcaro. One of the two are doing the local things of
I
interest.
think it is him. I think I know. I mean, I think I've seen it. I know what you're talking about. What might be, what might be most newsworthy for them is when we have something going on with our research, when we have somebody named, something happening, it's always good if there's news associated with it.
Maybe the park cleanup. Or the river cleanup.
That's already done by the Lancaster Consortium.
Yeah,
That's
they're
that's
already-
televised, that's
Yeah.
They'll have
websites,
news
well.
coverage
that's
of
all over
that,
the place, yeah.
So then just maybe one of our parks. This is an advertisement.
No,
maybe.
I mean, it's certainly a good idea. As I said, what I'm trying to think of is there's going to be a point somewhere in this process where we'll really want that.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying to wait. I think it's a great idea, but let's pick our
Pick a spot,
Pick our spot. Yeah, in other words, we're not quite there yet. So when we are, we'll want to be able to promote the heck out of it. So I think that's what we'll do. I mean, that's be my suggestion. So cool. All right. Any other new business? Public comment. Can you hear us again? Is there anything else you'd like to add?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Okay. Because her mic's not working. I guess I have a question about the grounds people at the parks. Is there a supervisor over all the different grounds people?
Yeah, we do have one park superintendent
And
who is in charge of all of our park property. And he has basically one, I'll call it an understudy, but as he needs more help, we pull from the whole Public Works Department.
okay, does he submit a monthly report to you guys on what's happening at the parks?
He gives me a weekly report.
A weekly, so that
Yes.
does not get into the minutes of your meetings?
It does not.
Yeah, that would be something I'd like to see.
Okay.
What would you expect to be on a report like that, Mr. Meyer?
Just any problems that they've encountered, major things like they had to cut down a tree or something like that. Just things that they're seeing that maybe should be remediated. Just things like that. Whatever he's reporting to you is, should be, I would hope would be in your minutes. Or could be, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I guess we viewed those things as sort of basic maintenance efforts that our staff is responsible for to maintain the parks, and the park board's efforts, although they're certainly interested in the maintenance of the parks, their efforts and discussions are not focused on park maintenance. We cut the grass every week, so I don't know that a report to the park board that says we cut the grass this week is very valuable.
No, it would not be. Just an observation. I walk in Community Park every day, and the plaques on the trees are really nice. It's a really great idea, and I guess it's a good way to raise money. My only observation is that there's a plaque in front of a tree that was cut down, so it's basically in front of a stump.
Right. Well, the park board's aware of the tree disease that we've been dealing with out there, and as a result, we have had to remove a number of trees, and we do replace them. And those plaques are meaningful, so we don't want to remove the plaques just because we had to cut the tree down.
Okay, that's fine. I was just wondering if you were aware.
Yeah, that you would find in the minutes from last year or even the year before. I think it's called leaf scorch.
Yeah, burnt leaf scorch on most of our oak trees. We probably have about 70 of them up there, so we're phasing them out. We're doing about anywhere from 7 to 10 a year, getting them out of there. But with that disease the tree has, the soil around it is also contaminated. So once we grind the stump out, we've got to take all the soil out and put new soil in. So it's a process. We are treating the trees to try to make life longer so we don't have to take them all down at one time. But yeah, it's something that we didn't want to see happen up there.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yep.
Okay.
And we did, Mr. Marks, just for point of reference, we did have a discussion last time about there were, as you know, if you're there a lot, you know that there were several trees. Was it right after?
There was a big windstorm we had come through, and about 3 or 4 trees went down, down at the lower end of the park.
4 trees that we lost.
Yeah, and within 3 days, it was all cleaned up and everything
Great
disappeared.
job, but it was because it was a real mess. But yeah, so we hear about that kind of thing, and we do talk about that.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff the park superintendent Troy Bresch puts on his weekly work reports to me. And if I see anything that's outstanding, I'll call him just to get a little insight. And if it's reportable to the board, I usually report it to him.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Is there any other questions you'd like to ask? No, good. All right. So is there anything else anybody would like to bring up? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.